Good evening YouTube. This is a description of how your car starting system works. Hopefully a very simple one, possibly oversimplified, so might have to forgive me, but I'm going to try and show you it in as simple terms as possible. So what we've got here on the table is a red top 12 volt battery. We've got a starter motor over here clamped in the vise, and we've got what's called a solenoid, which is effectively a switching device that switches a very large amount of current using a very small amount of current through the use of electromagnetism. I'll do a bit of a diagram so you can see how this works. This is extremely simplified, but what we've got here on the left hand side is the battery, on the right hand side is the starter motor, and my objective is to make that turn by connecting these battery terminals. But what I want to do is activate it with a very small amount of current using my key in the ignition of the engine. So this solenoid here has inside it a kind of moving bar that connects these two large terminals together. So this bar will move, when it's magnetized, it will move in this direction and make contact with these terminals. And it does so by applying a voltage across these two terminals, which have a coil wrapped round a kind of plunger, which causes this thing to move. What that's going to do is connect this positive terminal of the battery, which is connected on there, to this terminal, which is connected to the positive terminal of the starter motor, causing a circuit. What's not shown here yet also is that there's permanently wired is a negative return path, so that electrons can flow back to the battery. Now in your car, this battery's negative terminal will be connected to the chassis, as is this terminal here, so your car chassis becomes the negative path back to the battery. So only one wire is needed, and that's a big fat wire. What we want to do is switch this big fat wire on and off using a small amount of voltage. So what we do here is we take a connection to one side of the solenoid on the low current terminals and a connection to the other side of the solenoid on the low current terminals, and we introduce a switch that goes up and down and makes a contact here. When that contact is made, an electromagnetic field is caused in this coil, which causes this bar to move and connects those two terminals. Hopefully that's clear enough. Now, on the table in front of me, as I said, we've got this battery, we've got a solenoid, and we've got a starter motor. We've also got a fuse, just in case we don't want to blow anything up by introducing too much current. So these two big wires here, this is the positive wire that goes in and out of the solenoid. I haven't connected it to the battery yet. These two wires here are these two, which come from the negative terminal to the solenoid and go back via a fuse, in this case, so we don't blow anything up, back to the positive terminal. So when I touch this on that terminal, I'll get an electromagnetic force, and you'll hear a click from this solenoid. And that click indicates that these two terminals here are being connected together like that. So if I get my voltmeter and I clip this on one side, and I put this onto resistance. Let's just check it's working first. Oh, it isn't working. Oh. There we go. There we go. So continuity there. So that shows that the meter's working. Okay. If I touch it on this side, we should get nothing. Now when I tip this hand and click, I'm touching on that side. If I touch on the battery, you can see voltage flows through the system, and when I release, voltage stops flowing. Click, flows, unclick. Okay, so that proves that the whole thing is working. What happens inside the starter motor is that the starter motor has a cog in the front of it here that moves as this is what this big gold piece does. What it does is force the cog into contact with the flywheel of the engine, and then the cog will turn, spinning the flywheel and causing the engine to turn over, which causes your engine to start. So we're going to see that in a second. So what I'm just going to do, I'm going to take, you have to be quite careful with these things because there's quite a large amount of current. I'm going to put this onto the positive terminal of the battery. I'm just going to tighten that up a bit. The negative path, by the way, this negative path here in the diagram is this wire here, and that runs round and is clamped into the vise against the housing of the starter motor. It's very important that you clamp your starter motor into a vise because it's going to vibrate quite a lot or possibly jump around when you start it up. So just to recap, negative is going to the starter motor chassis, positive is going via the solenoid to the positive terminal on the starter motor. This low current connection goes to the other terminal of the solenoid. On the solenoid there's an I and an S terminal. S is for starter. So when I connect positive voltage to the S terminal, that will cause the solenoid to connect. And hopefully you can see the cog moving forward as it turns. And that's pretty much it.